Here we go. So, question 6 wants you to convert fractions to decimals. Now, in question 5 is actually a bit easier. Question 5 will be doing something like this. I'll do an example. I'll just make it up. Okay, I'll do a star to let you know that I'm making this one up. Question 5a, say I gave you 61 over 100. That's a fraction. And say I want to convert this to now a decimal. Again, this technique is literally all about reading. So the theory that I teach you is straightforward. It's how you deliver it. So this is based on your basic skills, arithmetic skills, geometric skills. So here, I want you to understand, when you write 61 over 100, you need to understand what the symbol means. What's that line mean again? When I say 61 over 100, what's that line as an operation? What does that mean? What's 61 over 100 mean? What's this line mean?
Divide.
Divide. So I want you to get in the habit of reading it and interpreting what this actually means here. This says 61 divide 100. Now we've learnt at the start of this session where I talked about multiples of 10 and what you're actually doing when you're dividing or multiplying. So let's have a look. 61 divided by 100, we know 61 is like 61.0. When you're dividing, you're moving to the left by the number of decimal places or decimal values based on how many groups of 10. Now 100 is made up of 2 groups of 10. That's why we're moving 2 place values technically forward or smaller. And that's why you end up with 0.61. This is question 5. Okay? And this is what I was trying to explain with the place values, that when you're dividing, that 6 which is in the tens column, okay, in the tens column, you are essentially saying, I want that to be smaller by 2 place values. So tens becomes now units, and then it becomes tens. That's why the 6, instead of being in the tens column, it is now in the tenths column. Okay? Now, let's have a look at question 6 here. Question 6 is what I think students will find tricky. Most of these you should be able to do, and then I'll highlight the one that students find tricky to do. Okay? F and H. These are the ones that students find tricky because they're not in multiples, or at least it doesn't change to fractions out of 100. That's why this is tricky. I want to show you how you would do a question like question 6 by reading what you need to do. Here's an example. I'm going to make up another one. Say I gave you 6a, and I'm going to write the question as, what is 7 over 11 as a fraction? Okay. Now the others are easy because you can convert them all into hundreds and you can do what you've done in question 5. But how do you convert 7/11ths into a decimal? If we follow the theory that I've just taught you, 7 over 11 means exactly the same as what you're reading. 7 over 11 means divide 11. Your job is to figure out how many 11ths fit into 7. If you can do that, you can change it to decimals. So here, I'll show you 11ths. How many 11ths fit into 7? And I write it out as a decimal point so that's easy for you to follow. But here we go. Let's follow. How many 11ths can fit into 7? How many 11ths can fit into 7? Let's go. Hello, team. How many 11ths fit into 7? 7 units. How many 11s can fit into 7? None. Which is why the technique would say 0 times. So what do you do next then?
You make the smiley face over the 7 and 0.
So you'd say, let's take the 7 and the 0, because instead of 7 units, we're now saying we have 70 tenths. So 70 of these tenths, we say, well, how many 11s fit into 70 tenths? 6. So I say 6 remainder what? 4. This is where you carry the 4. So this is 4 tenths, which is the same thing as 40 hundredths. See what I'm doing? I'm using the place values. So 40 hundredths. Now we can say, how many 11s fit into 40? 3 remainder? 7. And so again, this 7 is in the hundredths column, but we know that 7 can be carried into the thousands column, which makes it 70 thousandths. That's why you can do that. It's not magic. It's just based on the metric system. So here, you follow the same system again, and you say, how many 11ths fit into 70? And you follow this pattern. But this is where it's interesting. Does it make sense to say 11 fits into 7 636 times?
0.6.
Very good. Because I was saying how many times 11 can fit into 17 units? We couldn't. That's why we worked into the decimal form. And that's why the decimal needed to be here. It was 0 times, and it's 6 of these 11s to fit 70 tenths. And you can continue this. Okay? What you can see there is essentially for all of these questions, no matter what fraction you ever get, you can change fractions to decimals simply by reading what it is. If you got 7 over 11, it just means 7 divided by 11. Do short division. If you have 7 over 4, if you want to change that to decimals, you're literally just saying 7 divide 4. If you want to know what 29 over 125 as a decimal, you're doing 29 divide 125. That's as its simplest form in terms of the theory. What students struggle is here. How many of you can do short division or long division well is what the difference is. And to do division well, you need to know your times tables. Okay, so that's why I keep saying we'll keep practicing our times tables